Well, hello. Here we go. It is a brand new Flyers Daily for the 24th of July, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Well, memories are about to begin coming up today at the Flyers Training Center when the introductory press conference will take place. Flyers general manager, along with Flyers 7th overall draft pick in the 2023 NHL entry draft, Matvei Michkov, will be presented to the media. I can't wait for today. 11 o'clock this morning. Michkov is in Philadelphia. I know some were tracking his plane in yesterday. He got to Philadelphia yesterday afternoon, was greeted at the airport, promptly placed Philly's hat goes on his head. Keith Jones and Danny Brière meet him at the airport. Danny Brière is seen in one of the photos or the video that the Flyers tweeted out, carrying his twigs, carrying his sticks. And Matvei Michkov has been signed, he's been sealed, and he is now delivered to the Philadelphia Flyers. And it's almost still stunning that this is 2 years ahead of schedule. I think a lot of us hoped for this, thought maybe there was a chance it could happen. It was probably a long shot chance. That's where I was. So I wasn't expecting it. I was hoping it would happen, but wasn't expecting it. And now that it has come to full fruition with this introductory press conference today, it is incredibly exciting. Now, let's get a couple things straight. We've been talking about expectations over the last couple of episodes, and we're going to talk about those again in this episode before we get to our feature interview of Devin Kaplan, who's a Flyers draft pick back in 2022, playing for BU. But expectations, Michkov's coming in. I think the most comfortable place Matvei Michkov will be here in Philadelphia for the next calendar year will be where we most see him. That's on the ice. Now, he doesn't spend the majority of his time on the ice. You have practices on off days, and you're on the ice for a morning skate and the game. There's far more hours in the day where Matvei Michkov will not be on the ice. But on the ice, I think that's a sanctuary. What we've heard about Michkov is he loves being on the ice. He loves practicing. He loves working on his game. So on the ice, I think will be his sanctuary, where he's most comfortable. Where the adjustment truly lies is all the other hours of the day. Assimilating to life in North America, to life in Philadelphia, coming from where he came from in Russia, which obviously the way of living, the way of life is far different than it is here. Couple that with the fact that imagine being dropped into another country and knowing very little of the language, being able to communicate your wants, your needs, and all of those things. Learning how to pay the electric bill, pay the water bill, get your mail, do all these things. Now, the Flyers are going to have an incredible support system for Matvei Michkov to try and ease that transition. But I know that if I was dropped into a country as a 19-year-old and didn't speak the language, it would have been incredibly daunting. It would be that way for me as a 52-year-old. I think it would be for just about any of us. And then you couple that with, the weight of expectations. I think Matvei knows, to some degree, the expectations that are being heaped upon him. I think he's going to thrive on it. I think great players like that. They like being the center of attention, a player of massive importance and huge consequence on their success or failure. I think they feed on that. I think he knows it to a degree. I don't know if he knows quite how much this fan base is excited about his presence being here and the possibilities of the impact that he could have on this market when it comes to hockey. And I say this market when it comes to hockey, I don't just say the Flyers. When players like Matvei Michkov, if he does turn into an absolute star, the trickle-down effect, obviously there's a huge effect for the Flyers, the interest, their ability to compete for a Stanley Cup, and we hope it goes in that direction. It's not going to be just Michkov alone. He needs a supporting cast. That's hockey. That's the way it works. One good player does not make a team. One great player does not win a cup. It takes an entire team, and players of different abilities, and players of different skill sets, and players willing to accept different roles to do that. But he is a big, big element of it. And the trickle-down effect of a Flyers team that has a player that absolutely belongs on the marquee, puts butts in seats, lifts butts out of seats, and puts butts on the edge of seats every time they step on the ice, has a trickle-down effect on the hockey community, on youth hockey. It brings more eyeballs to the game. It brings more people on the bus. And that's good for the game locally as well, at the lower levels of youth hockey. So the effect of a player like Matvei Michkov can be so pronounced on a region, on an area, on a particular team like the Philadelphia Flyers. And for those reasons, I'm incredibly excited for his early arrival. And I do like it that it's an early arrival, because you get a chance to start that development process to the North American and NHL game. You get a chance to start that process of climatizing him and assimilating him to life in North America. And he seems extremely excited to be here, to get the opportunity early. And, I don't want people to heap unrealistic expectations on him, the hockey player, because all of those things that I mentioned will be part of the equation. And he's not stepping into a situation where he can kind of just, ride shotgun. He's going to be counted on to do a lot. And he's going to be looked at from the fan base and the media and everybody else as a player that should accomplish a lot. I think we just have to temper our expectations a little bit for this season for him. You can have high expectations for the player overall, but it's going to take some time. It's not going to just happen. This is the best league in the world, the NHL. So I look forward to seeing Matvei today for the first time in the flesh, and look forward to this whole process getting underway with Matvei Michkov. How about the fact that he's here? He got here yesterday on the 23rd of July. Gives him a good period of time to start that acclimatizing himself, I'll try it that way, to Philadelphia and his surroundings well before training camp. Training camp still just under 2 months away. I mean, when we look at, the first preseason game, I don't know if he'll be in the lineup that night. I would imagine there's a chance he could be. He'll be in the first lineup for the first preseason game at Wells Fargo Center. But the Flyers' first preseason game is now just 60 days away. It's not that far. It's 2 calendar months. The Flyers' first regular season game is now 79 days away. That's not that far. So these are very exciting times. Very exciting. I cannot wait to see the arc of his career. And hopefully it brings great things. Danny Brière, Keith Jones, picking him up from the airport and getting that Phillies hat on him. Nice touch. His impact could be so huge. And I just think the organization and Danny and Dan Hilferty and Keith Jones did an amazing job throughout this process of controlling what you can control and letting it play out properly. And they got rewarded for it. He's here 2 years early, so that's obviously just fantastic. So Matvei Michkov coming up today with his introductory press conference at 11 a.m. Keep an eye on the Flyers' social channels, on Twitter at NHL Flyers, and also the YouTube channel if you're watching that here for that introductory press conference. So obviously be a translator there to help with those things as well. And the photo op of Matvei putting on that Flyers jersey with a signed contract for the first time at the Flyers Training Center. Exciting times. Real quick, before we get to Devin Kaplan as well, we've been talking a lot about expectations going into this season, and I had a chance to dig up some NHL futures and looking at the NHL futures, and first of all, the Stanley Cup odds. Now, these are a bit lofty of an expectation. The Edmonton Oilers go into the season, at least as of right now, with the best odds to win the Stanley Cup. Of course, they got there last year, lost it in 7. Florida Panthers won it. They have the second highest odds. The Edmonton Oilers are plus 850 to win the Cup. The Florida Panthers are plus 900. The team that's got the third highest odds may shock you. They're tied with a couple other teams. It's the New Jersey Devils. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They made some very interesting moves this offseason and some very much needed moves when it comes to goaltending and Jacob Markstrom, who I think will pay immediate and big dividends for the Devils. They've got Sheldon Keefe behind the bench. They're at plus 1,100. Get guys like Dougie Hamilton back healthy. The Stars are at plus 1,100. So are the Avalanche. The Rangers at plus 1,400. The Canes also at 1,400. So that's 3 teams in the Metro in the top 7 teams in the NHL. Leafs come in at plus 1,500. The next Metro team comes down a little ways on the list at the Islanders at plus 4,500. And then it's the Flyers at plus 5,000, tied with the Pittsburgh Penguins and Buffalo Sabres. Flyers well ahead of the St. Louis Blues, Seattle Kraken, well ahead of the Washington Capitals at plus 6,600. The Montreal Canadiens, who picked Ivan Demidov at plus 1,500. Of course, Cole Caulfield there as well. Martin St. Louis behind the bench. Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks at plus 22,500. The Blue Jackets at plus 30,000. And the Sharks with the longest odds at plus 40,000. So do with that what you may, but that's the odds to win the Stanley Cup. Now the odds, or the points rather, the NHL futures for points this season are as follows for the Metropolitan Division. The team with the highest over-under for points this season is the New Jersey Devils at 101.5. All these have a 0.5. That way you can't have a push. Can't get a half a point. The second highest team, points-wise, in the Metropolitan Division, 2 teams are tied. It's actually the Canes and the Rangers. Their over-under is 100.5 points. The next team is the New York Islanders at 90.5 points. And then it's the Philadelphia Flyers at 89.5 points. Tied with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And ahead of the Washington Capitals at 88.5 points. And the Blue Jackets at 69.5 points. So the Flyers finished last year. They went into the season at 76.5 points. They finished with 87 points. And next year, the expectation, the over-under, is 89.5 points for the Philadelphia Flyers. Detroit made a lot of moves also. A lot of people like Detroit as a team that could sneak in the Atlantic Division. They're also at 89.5 points. So we'll see if this is true to form. It's a 2.5 point improvement for the Flyers if they are to go over, so 3 points, than where they finished last year at 87. And 89.5 points is the over-under for the Philadelphia Flyers heading into the 24-25 season. Those are the most updated odds, reflecting Matvei Michkov, what's happened so far in free agency and trades, and obviously the 2024 NHL entry draft as well. So with that, do with that as you may. Plus 5,000 to win the Cup for the Flyers, 89.5 the over-under for points. Now let's get to our feature conversation in this episode. We've been talking with Flyers prospects. We had a chance to catch up with a bunch of them during development camp. We have some really good ones coming up. For example, coming up on Friday, Noah Powell, who is legally deaf, led the USHL in scoring last year, will be our interview coming up on Friday. Next week, we'll talk to Alex Bump and Hunter McDonald, Cole Knubel still on the way, Massimo Rizzo, Alexei Gendron, Alex Sharonix coming up, Carter Southern as well as we go through the summer months. But in this episode, we're talking with Devin Kaplan. Now, Devin Kaplan was a third-round pick of the Flyers in the 2022 NHL entry draft, 69th overall from Bridgewater, New Jersey. So a local kid. He is 20 years of age. He'll be 22 or 21 rather, coming up on January 10th. Played a couple of years in the national team development program. Played the last 2 years at Boston University. Played with Macklin Celebrini and some other really good players, great players. In his first year at BU, in 40 games, had 10 goals, 13 assists, 23 points, and 49 penalty minutes. Was a plus 15 on the year. And this past season, in 37 games, 5 goals, 18 assists, also 23 points. Was a 34 penalty minutes and a plus 9 for the season. Played his youth hockey for the New Jersey Rockets initially. Then when he got up to the 14U level, jumped over and played for the New Jersey Avalanche, a Tier 1 program. Had some really good years with the Avalanche before going on to play at the U.S. National Team Development Program. Now, one of the things with these, I call them conversations, not interviews. An interview is you ask a question, you get an answer. You ask your next question, you get an answer. Conversations are you ask a question, you listen to the answer, and then you just have a conversation and see where it goes. That's what this is. And you're going to get the chance to hear some things from Devin Kaplan about, the law of attraction is something he cites and how he got to where he is. And also advocating for himself throughout this process. Setting goals, achieving them, setting higher goals and achieving them. And on that process goes, hopefully leading him to the NHL and the Philadelphia Flyers. So here's my conversation with Flyers prospect Devin Kaplan. It is Flyers Daily live from Prospect Camp, and we're sitting with 2022 third-round pick Devin Kaplan. Devin, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You look older.
A little bit, maybe.
You put on a little muscle?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah? You get gym rat in it?
Sometimes, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Up there at BU, how's things going? How was your year?
It was pretty fun. Unfortunate ending, but we had a good year, so yeah, I'm looking forward to another good one next year.
Getting to play in that program, means so much up there, and so many great players. I imagine just being around with so many great players helps everybody raise the level of their game and their abilities.
Yeah, it definitely helps just being around guys like obviously Lane Hudson, then Macklin Celebrini, and then we also have a ton of other high draft picks that we play with every day, so definitely elevates the practices and the compete and everything, so it's a lot of fun, and it definitely helps our games a lot. So
you see Celebrini, you don't go, I know why that guy's the number 1 overall pick. Like, you see it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every day in practice, he shows it. He competes harder than everybody else. It raises the level for everyone else, so everybody competes just as hard as him. And the stuff he does in practice and in games is just, you're in awe sometimes. So yeah, it's a sight to see.
You get a chance to play with him and skate the wing with him?
Yeah, for a little bit, towards the middle of the year for a little bit, but we lost a couple games, so then we got switched around. But yeah, he's a special player.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going that route, the college route. You come from New Jersey, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to go play junior? Am I going to, play college? Why'd you go the college route?
Well, for me, my dreams were always to go play for the national program.
Yeah,
and then
USNTP.
And then play college after that. So my dream school was always BU. I went to the 2015 Frozen Four when Eichel was playing, and it was in Boston that year, so I fell in love with Boston then. Yeah, it was a tough game for them, but just being around it and seeing how passionate the fans were there, I knew that it was the right school for me, and everything's lined up perfectly for me, and I love being there. So.
Okay, so go back to 2015. You go. I want to go to BU.
Yeah.
Now you're playing at BU. The realization of a dream to me is always incredible. You go. This is what I want to do. Not easy to do it because, it's a highly competitive school. Now you're doing it. What's that like?
It's unbelievable, especially playing in the Bean Pot and playing at TD Garden for the Hockey East Championships. It's just and then winning Hockey East last year or my freshman year.
Yeah,
it was just unbelievable. My parents always talk about they black out sometimes during the games just because of realizing that it's really happening.
You made it happen.
Yeah, it's just special. So
how did you make it happen?
I'd say just perseverance and resilience and sticking with that dream in your back of your mind every day, just thinking about it. Because when I believe in the law of attraction, so when you think of things all the time and you realize your dreams, if you really put the work in, you can make it happen. So that's what I try to do every day.
Dude, that is awesome. The law of attraction. I love that.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I believe that if you constantly think negative thoughts, negative things will happen.
Yeah.
And if you dare dream or what you want to do, you got a way better chance if you actually believe it.
Yeah.
And you did.
Exactly.
And coming out of Jersey, too, not the biggest hockey hotbed, but there is really good Tier 1 hockey around here with programs in New Jersey. The teams you played for, the Rockets and the Avalanche and Junior Flyers and all those teams.
Yeah.
What was that experience like playing Tier 1 around here?
It was a lot of fun. I would say, like, I played for the New Jersey Rockets for my first 8 years growing up. And the competition wasn't great when I was growing up, so we'd be in Boston a lot. So that would add another little element for BU since I was always around Massachusetts. And then when I moved to the Avalanche, like, those were probably like 2 of the most fun years of my life.
Yeah.
Just the brotherhood that they create there and the family aspect. Just going to the rink every day, and then the coaches that they have there are unbelievable.
Big
too.
jump in your game at that time?
At that time, yeah, definitely. It's when I started doing video a lot with my coaches, analyzing my game a lot more. And
got a lot more serious.
Yeah, because I presented my goals to them before the season, and they said, if you want to make this happen, like, this is what you're going to have to do. So
you are very, first of all, cerebral, and you knew this path a long time ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you present that to your coaches in midget.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rare for a player to advocate for himself in that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, they saw the potential in me, so they wanted me to create goals for myself that they thought I could attain. So I presented those ones, and I was able to attain them. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You're gonna have to keep doing that to get to the NHL. Like,
definitely.
The eye on the prize. Like, what's your path, and what are you working on this offseason to add to your game?
Just getting more powerful and working on my skating. Just things that I can elevate my power forward game to do. So kind of just making a bigger presence on the ice. Just every time I'm out there, making sure the other team knows that I'm out there and that I'm going to make an impact on the game. So.
And you're one of those guys that's not afraid to get down around the blue paint, bump a goalie or two, and
no, not at all.
Really grind away around, take the beating that's necessary down there. But that's where goals are scored from.
Yeah, I like to take pride in that, and
open up the outside for some of those other guys, and you get in there and mix it up.
Especially, yeah.
Little Wayne Simmons in there.
Yeah, I like to create space for other guys to do what they do, and then just like clean up the garbage sometimes, and then also like just facilitate too. So yeah.
Awesome, Devin. I enjoyed this conversation a lot, man. I really appreciate it. Have a great camp, man. Have a great season at BU. Win the Bean Pot and maybe a national championship.
Yeah, definitely.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
At the beginning of the conversation, say that you look older and bigger. That's one of the things that you can measure in prospect camp, is that 1 year you see a player, and then the next year you see him, and you can do in your mind's eye the side-by-side comparison. I didn't see Devin Kaplan all year, day to day, to see the maturity of a person day to day. You tend not to kind of see it. When you see a person 1 year and then not again until the next year, you really notice it, and it was very noticeable with Devin. Facially looked older, bigger, stronger. I thought he had a good prospect camp, and you can tell by that conversation that this is a young man. He's 20 years old, going to be 22 in January, that he has got his head screwed on straight, and you know that in between his ears, he's got a plan of how he is going to attack this year, his third year at Boston University, and now he's going to put himself in the best position to play in the top league in the world and become an NHL player, something he's dreamed about. So he had that dream after going to the Frozen Four in 2015, seeing Jack Eichel and BU, that he was going to get to Boston University. He's there. Now the next step is having a great year at BU, turning pro, and getting to the NHL, and then staying in the NHL. I got a lot of faith in Devin Kaplan because of the way he thinks and the way he plans his next steps. Hope you enjoyed that conversation. Matvei Michkov will be presented to the media today at 11 o'clock. We'll do some recap on that on Friday's episode. Plus, we will have more of our Flyers Development Camp conversations coming up on Friday. We will sit down with Noah Powell, leading scorer in the USHL this past season, had a really nice development camp. Just seemed to kind of pop all over the ice. Kept showing himself very well. He kept looking down and going, who is it? Well, it's Noah Powell again. So we'll have that coming up for you on Friday. Everybody, have a good couple of days. We'll talk to you Friday on a brand new Flyers Daily.